Gaikwad sir, now we can start.
Okay. Good afternoon to one and all. Myself, Professor Vaibhav Gaikwad. I welcome you all for the panel discussion on career opportunities in robotics and automation, organized by Department of Robotics and Automation, Kekewag Institute of Engineering, Education and Research. I welcome you all for this panel discussion. Now, I request our head of the department, Dr. PJ Pawar sir, to give the welcome note. Over to you, sir. Pawar sir.
Thank you, Gaikwad sir. Very good afternoon to all. And on behalf of Department of Robotics and Automation of Kekewag Institute of Engineering, Education and Research, I welcome experts for today's panel discussion. Shri Ravi Mahadevkar sir, Managing Director, Rama Samit Machinery Private Limited, Nashik. Shri Nilesh Nikam, who is also our alumnus, and he is now the Industrial Program Leader for SAI Clean Mobility, Pune. Mr. Vinod Atpadkar, CEO of SVR Infotech, Pune. Mr. Vinay Kunwar, Director, India First Robotics, Pune. And Mr. Surinder Singh Naurala, Managing Director, Axiomatic Tech iTech Private Limited, Ahmedabad. I also welcome Principal of our Institute, Dr. K. N. Nandurkar sir, all faculty members and student participants to this webinar on career opportunities for robotics and automation. The main objective of this webinar is, of course, to make the society aware of importance of robotics and automation field in the current scenario of Industry 4.0. The Department of Robotics and Automation is recently established by our institute from academic year 2020-21 with a UG program B in Robotics and Automation of intake capacity of 60. This program is also approved by AICTE New Delhi and affiliated to Savitribai Phule Pune University. As we all know that the use of robots in the industries is continuously increasing, and one can find more number of robots than humans working in the industries. Moreover, the application of the robots are also increasing in several other sectors like agricultural, defense, medical, service sector, etc. And therefore, to remain competitive in market, the Indian industries will have no choice than to adopt the advanced technologies like robotics and automation. And therefore, there will be naturally a huge need of robots and thereby robotics engineers in near future. The Department of Robotics and Automation Engineering is established to meet this ever-growing demand of the trained engineers in the field of robotics and automation engineering. Of course, this robotics and automation engineering is an interdisciplinary field, and therefore the syllabus of this course covers the various aspects of robotics such as mechanical design, the hardware development, software development aspects, control and interfacing, artificial intelligence, etc. Especially at second year level, our syllabus contains the mechanical design aspects. That means how the robot is to be designed, and how the robot from strength point of view as well as stiffness point of view, and what should be ergonomics point of view, aesthetic point of view. All these things will be discussed in second year syllabus. Third year syllabus basically covers the electronic aspects, that how to design the interfaces and how basically to develop the control systems for robotic systems. And third year syllabus basically deals with how to make the robot intelligent. That means how to incorporate the intelligent systems or the intelligent algorithms into robotic system so that the robots can take their own decisions. The graduate of this course will find, of course, ample opportunities to work as a robot design engineers or robot programmers, robot system engineers, etc. in the field of industrial automation, manufacturing, agricultural, mining, aerospace, healthcare and defense, and similar other sectors. The department, our department is having a very good and well-qualified, devoted, experienced faculty with average experience of more than 10 years. 4 faculty members are with PhD qualifications and others with a master's degree in the relevant field. Our principal, Dr. K. N. Nandurkar, is also associated with the same department. The department is also having well-equipped labs, state-of-art laboratories, including the robotics labs. We have now just set up the robotics labs, automation labs, computer-aided manufacturing lab, robotic simulation lab, etc. And the computational facilities are also excellent. That includes the professional software packages such as MATLAB, SolidWorks, Webots, or the robot simulator, etc. Our engineering workshop is also well-equipped with the state-of-the-art machineries, and we have CNC machine, VMC machine, laser beam machine, 3D printing, and all other machines of industry grades. Once again, I welcome you all for this webinar and now request Professor Kamble to continue further. Thank you.
Vaibhav sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Now I will request our principal, Dr. K.N. Nandurkar, sir, to guide the participant.
Yeah, very good afternoon to all the members of the panel as well as the student members who are interested in taking up engineering as a career. So we will be having a series of such discussions, and one of the discussion here today is for the specific topic, that is robotics and automation. So as it was said just now, we started it for the first time in Nashik. We started this particular program last year, and now this is the second year. And definitely there are a lot of opportunities. But many times it so happens that the students and their parents, they are not aware of the opportunities in this particular field, because traditionally we know some of the engineering fields and generally students opt for that. But it is our duty to make everyone aware of this particular opportunity which has been provided by KK Wag Institute for the first time, so that they can make a very, you can say, informed decision, that because getting admission is a very important decision in a career of any student. And it should be a proper decision with all information and analysis done. So in that case, you should know what are the opportunities, what are the facilities available, what will be the career which can be developed in this particular field. And of course, we are talking of next 20-25 years, that is in the future, what will be happening. And I'm really glad to say that AICT has also taken a proactive role, that they have allowed the colleges to start courses in the emerging areas, what they call it. And the main idea behind that is these areas or these technologies are going to remain in the future. And then there will be a lot of opportunities for the graduates who will be passing in this particular branch. So that is why we have started these 2 or 3 courses. We also started the course in artificial intelligence and data science. And this year we have also added the course on computer science and design. So these are all from the emerging areas, and definitely they will be useful for the students. Just to brief you about KK Wag Institute, this institute was started in 1984 with only 3 branches, but today we have 10 branches. As I said, there are 3 emerging branches, and there are earlier traditional branches like our mechanical, electrical, civil. Then we also had computer engineering and IT, and chemical engineering, civil engineering, electronics and ENTC. So all these programs are available with the institute, and now these 3 emerging courses are also available. And definitely it will be very helpful for the student community. As you all know, this was the first college in Nashik area. It is thrice accredited by National Board of Accreditation. And
I request
soon
all
we
the
will
participants to please mute
going
yourself.
into
Vaibhav sir, you please mute them, please, from your side. Please, Vaibhav sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Done.
soon the institute will be going for autonomous status also, and probably from next academic year it will be autonomous institute. With autonomy, we will be getting a freedom to design our own syllabus and also the assessment system. But this is not applicable to the students who are admitted this year, that is at 21-22. It will be available next year, that is from 22-23 student batch, that autonomy will be applicable. From NAC also we got A grade, and there is one survey conducted by AICT and CII together, and for last 4 years we have been getting the platinum category in that particular survey. That survey indicates that the college has a very good linkage with the industries in and around, because engineering is a professional course and it has to have a good interaction with the industries, so that we are achieving consistently, and that is reflected in the placements which are given to our students. Last year, we are really glad to share with you that more than 500 students got campus placement, and the remaining, some of the people, they went for higher studies, and the remaining people they got from off campus. So we are very sure that any student passing from KK Wag will be getting some good opportunity and good career in the life. Around 15,000 students have passed so far, and they are doing extremely well, not only in India, but abroad. And we have our alumni base almost in every country in the world, and they are doing extremely well. That is the compliment which we received from all the people and their parents, and that tradition we will be continuing. So those who want to get into engineering, they should definitely think of KK Wag Institute and the different branches which are available. So today we will come to know something about the opportunities in robotics and automation. We have invited some good panel members who are actually working in that field, and I think they will be the right people to tell you about what are the opportunities available in this field. So let us start with our panel discussion, and I welcome all the panelists once again and request Professor Kamble to continue with the program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And now we will have the short video of our department. Kamble sir, screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please play this.
Our institute, KK Wagh Institute of Engineering Education and Research, Nasik, has started a new program in robotics and automation from this academic year, that is 2020-21. This course, with the intake of 60 students, is approved by Savitribai Phule Pune University as well as the All India Council for Technical Education, that is AICTE. This is one of the courses in the emerging areas which are suggested by AICTE for the engineering colleges. In this particular course, we are going to deal with three major aspects of robotics. First is how to design a robotic system. Second is how to operate a robotic system. And third is how to maintain a robotic system. So in my view, the student who will be enrolled for this course will be getting the entire idea from the design to operation of any robotic system. Today we know that robotics are used in almost every field of life. You talk of medicine, you talk of manufacturing, you talk of agriculture. In every field you will find there will be number of application of robotic system. And definitely to maintain these systems, to design these systems, to operate this system, new and new engineers will be required. So this course will provide the appropriate knowledge to the students who will be required in the field of robotics. Many surveys have indicated that there will be a huge demand for robotics engineers in the country in the coming period. So my appeal to all well-standard students who are looking for engineering admission to select this particular course, considering the large opportunities in the future for this course.
Digital transformation is disrupted in a big way across sectors in recent times. Technologies like robotics and automation that were until recently largely in academic research labs have suddenly moved into the mainstream. The new age industry will be marked by lightning speed advancements and mind-boggling change as it brings together the field of robotics in digital, industrial, medical and biological technologies. Why robotics and automation? Robotics is an interdisciplinary branch of engineering and science that includes mechanical engineering, electronic engineering, information engineering, and computer science. It deals with the design, construction, operation, and use of robots as well as computer systems for their control, sensory feedback, and information processing. These technologies are used to develop machines that can substitute for humans and replicate human actions. A course in robotics and automation trains and educates a student in the field of artificial intelligence, computer-aided manufacturing, computer-integrated manufacturing system, computational geometry, robot motion planning, digital electronics, and microprocessing, and so much more. Some career opportunities in robotics and automation. One can expect jobs in the manufacturing industries, aerospace industries, private industries, biomedical industries, automobiles, appliance and industrial tools and service industry. Students who study robotics and automation technologies are prepared for careers in robot technology, artificial intelligence, computer-controlled machine programming, robotic sales, and more. Candidates may pursue higher degrees in MS, ME, M.Tech in robotics, and even PhD in Indian and foreign universities. After pursuing an advanced degree, job roles include robotics scientists, robotics engineers, and robotics technicians.
Now we will move towards the panel discussion. Am I audible, Kamble sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Okay, we will move towards the panel discussion. Our first panelist is Mr. Ravi Mahadevkar sir, who is currently working as a managing director at Strama Sumit Machinery Private Limited, which is a joint venture company with a German company Strama MPS, Straubing, near Munich, with in the presence in USA, China, Mexico, and Singapore. Sir is having more than 35 years of experience in the design and development of integrated automated system and the mechatronics system. Sir has 3 patents which are within the India and some are applied to the USA. We are having this eminent personality with us for the panel discussion. Now, sir, I request you, can you please discuss on what will be the level of automation which is expected in the near future? Mahadevkar sir.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Nandurkar sir, who's a friend of mine. Dr. Pawar sir, head of the department, Amol Kamble, Professor Vaibhav, all the team from KK, and the team who have been taking much of efforts in establishing this particular branch, and the what I can say that the visionary kind of thing, and I'm very much thankful for involving into this particular process. Actually, today we have been talking about it. The automation and robotics is the everywhere. Actually, everybody's talking about it, automation. But the most important thing pertaining to the question what you have asked me about it, the future scope of industrial automation, that is what we have to look really into that. And before going into the future scope, we must be able to have the evaluation of our industries, where exactly we are standing. Okay. Basically, we have been talking about it, Industry 4.0, or the robotics, automation, and many more things. I don't want to go into details of that. But if we really evaluate the industrial growth, industrial revolution part of it, we are still struggling between industry 2 and 3. The world is moving out very rapidly for industry 4 and beyond that, but we are still struggling. But as I really look into, because I have been dealing with many customers, right from the automotive sector to the food industry or general engineering industries, or the chemical plants and all, I've been observing that the mentality of the Indian industry is changing rapidly towards the automation. Earlier, automation was not very taken seriously, actually. And now, especially after the post-pandemic, this has become a keyword everywhere, actually. Typically, you would ask that why automation, actually, and what will be the scope for the people like you and me? For any kind of branch or any kind of industry, whether you consider medical, you consider architecture, you consider construction, you consider even agricultural part of it, everywhere you will find the automation is taking place. And more of why it aims to eliminate the redundant and hazardous job, basically. The automation is helping you in reducing the redundant and hazardous jobs. Typically, example, now I would like to give example of industry where the painting application is there. Paint is the obnoxious. We are not able to really face the smell, and still we have to work on that. So obviously, people are adopting the robotic system or the automation systems into the automation part of it. I just give an example, actually. Even if you consider the automation in the agricultural part of it, for the agriculture, as we know that everywhere you have to go with the person dependent, or the human involvement is very much over there. But the moment you think of adopting the automation and all, you will realize that the repetitive nature of the work for the human being is getting eliminated, and that results in the form of helping out to the mankind actually. Another thing is that the innovation and technology that can be established the growth and the industrial automation. In the innovation, in Marathi, we can say that गरज ही शोधाची जननी आहे तिथं. It's like that. The innovation is the key word into the Indian industries now. And whatsoever, on one side, China is shrinking, and the company, the industrial growth in India is spurting up. And in the process, if suppose we are not able to respond to that, then we will not be able to be reaching out to the world market, and whatever the figure we have been talking about, 5 trillion economics and all, that won't be possible. And obviously, from that perspective, we will have to have a definitely qualified robotics and automation engineers that has a lot of career option. And I must congratulate and thanks for Kekewag Institute, Engineering College, that they have initiated the first in this region, or probably they are first in Maharashtra also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Now, our next panelist is Mr. Nilesh Nikam, who is currently working in Frosia Emission Control System, Chakan, Pune, as an assistant manager. Sir is having around 11 years of the experience in the field of the manufacturing, automation, and the robotics. Basically, sir is our alumni, and he is a gold medalist in the YMTech. Now, I would like to ask you, sir, what will be the scope of robotics and automation in the present scenario of Industry 4.0? Can you please focus on this issue? Nilesh Nikam, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Thanks for giving the opportunity and calling for the panel session. Now the industry, whatever the development is there, right from industry 1.0 to 1.4, 4.0. So the industry has been growing up rapidly, and as rightly said by Devkar sir, in 2 and 3 there is a dilemma and there is not a proper movement, but in the industry 4.0 there is a quick movement, and we are finding very good things into that. So what is basically industry 4.0? Already industry 3.0 is covering our automation task, and in industry 4.0 we are at a high level of automation, but with some other factors also, including like agility, what we can say agile manufacturing, which will be more suited for the world-class manufacturing systems. So in that also there are different course of actions, like if we have any kind of a product and product development, so it is rightly from starting from the CAD side where the product has been developed. So there is a digital twin, then there is an PLM, product life cycle management, and then there is an CAD management also. So all these are coming into the part of the first life of the product, where we are taking care of the proper course of the product and the life cycle management, where we are giving origin to the product. Then same product has been get delivered after testing. It is kind of a project, and it has been submitted to the manufacturing plant for the next course of action, like the series production. Now during this series production, if we go for the industry 4.0 specifically, so there it will be a more of a communication between the machines, communication between the plants, communication between the robots. Those all are the points there where the artificial intelligence, then Internet of Things, IoTs, then data cloud management, then data storage in the cloud, then cloud computing, these all parts are coming. Now what is exactly, I will give you a brief things into that. Let us say you have the 2 machines parallel to each other, so both are performing the same operation, but currently you are having a less plan for the production, so only one machine is running. So if in that case, one machine goes for some breakdown or some kind of a TPM or a calculating task is there, and that particular machine is not going to work. So automatically signal has been generated and given to other machine for transferring the job and load. So the robot or whatever the system is there for automation, it will not load on machine one part, it will load on the machine two. So it is also one of the part of the industry 4.0. It is more of a communications between the machine. Then again, the whatever the history has been developed by the machine, it has been get stored, and from that big data analysis has been done. So again, big data analysis is also one of the core part of the 4.0, where you are gathering the data, you are storing into the cloud system, maybe cloud or server base, and then you are analyzing it, and further you are optimizing the things. Then further, in some cases, simultaneous engineering also there, where the product has been get realized, and further simultaneously some changes are going to happen, and parallelly in the CAD, if you are doing the changes same way, in manufacturing field also parallel you are doing. So that is also coming into this picture. So whatever the product realization, initially it is taking, let us say example of car. Initially car is taking almost 3 to 4 years of launch period. Now it is only taking time of only 1.5 years or 2 years. It's very rapidly happening. So it is due to this only, whatever the communication, then the virtual commissionings, then whatever the, what we can say, the cloud computing and transferring the data from one phase to the other phase. It is very rapidly happening. Especially now, if I talk with our Faurecia emission control, where we stand for the industry 4.0. So already we are having the robotic system installed in our plant, and it is a kind of a automation with the semi-automation, full automation, and the manual kind of automation. These all three stages we are having. So in this, we are having some good implemented things like digital manufacturing control, which is called as a DMC. What it is doing exactly, DMC is, if we connect the machines to our servers, that DMC server we can say, then it will calculate whatever the cycle time data, then the product data we have been fed. So based on that, it will automatically calculate your OEE, overall equipment efficiency, then how many downtimes are there, then where are the lags are there, then what could be the effective cycle time observed into it, then what are the fluctuations found during the, let us say, first ship is there, second ship is there, third ship is there. So it is a part of big data analysis also. So in that way, that DMC, we are working with the DMC. Then we are having the PMM, means the plant maintenance management system, where automatically trigger has been given by the machine to the plant maintenance, where it will automatically dedicate a tag that I have this kind of a defined maintenance activity. So please come and solve this issue. So what we can say, industry 4.0 is more of different communications. Then artificial intelligence. This is nothing but the artificial intelligence where the whatever the brains, okay, in initial phases, what was happening actually, whatever the experts are there, they're supposed to come and solve the issues, or they're supposed to take the decisions, but it is quite a lengthy process. So whatever this artificial intelligence, we are connecting these machines, even we are connecting plants also. So this artificial intelligence will give a certain sort of rules for acting. Suppose if something is happened, then there will be a rule defined guidelines where the actions, next course of actions will be taken. And in terms of manufacturing, means from moving out to machine or line to line or plant to plant, that has been decided. Then there is one more thing, whatever we are having the product. Let us say there is an operations of 10 to 15 number of different operations, right from start, means coming as a BOP, bought out part, and going as a FG. So in that also, let us say we have 5 numbers of operations where you need to capture the process parameters. So that capturing the process parameter and maintaining it over the long period, it is almost means 10 years or 20 years. So as a BS6, for our company, we are maintaining this water emission norms are there. So each and every product, we are maintaining this in the proc system, which is nothing but it is a part of a 4.0 only, where a server is there, and for each product, at what time, what operation has been done, and what type of characteristics, process characteristic, it has been saved. So it is also the part of that 4.0. Then if suppose this product characteristic is not getting followed or critical control parameters are not getting followed, then system will generate alert or AMS, alert management system, and it will hand over to its means what kind of it is alert is there. It is kind of a maintenance, or it is a kind of a quality, or it is kind of a production. So that alert has been sent directly to that particular department, and that particular department will act. They will take as a PDCA, and they will resolve the issues. So in this way, there are 10 to 14 different things which are comes under the Industry 4.0, and further means as if you go in more details, like say our whatever the manufacturing plants are there, what is their exact requirements? Based on that, this inputs characteristics will also going to change. So whatever the points I have been mentioned, further in pharmaceutical industry, then medical industry, it may change, but the basic will be remain same, means the Internet of Things, that is the communication for that one, then the artificial intelligence, then the PLM things, virtual commissioning, then cloud computing, big data analysis. This will remain as a base in the Industry 4.0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your valuable guidance on the Industry 4.0. Now, our next panelist is Mr. Vinod Atpadkar, sir, who is CEO of SVR Infotech Pune. He is having a wide experience around 20 years in the field of the robotics and automation. Now, in continuation with the Industry 4.0, sir, I would like to ask you or give your views whether the robot will replace the human being. Atpadkar, sir. Atpadkar, sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Vaibhav, sir, you are audible. Yes, sir, Atpadkar, sir, is there.
Yes.
So very good afternoon, and I'll say the answer to this question is really tricky. Shall I say yes or no? Okay. If I say yes, other panelists would be on other side. Oh, how it will be replaced? If I say no, my students would be again into a very difficult situation. But this question, I'll say yes. The robots are replacing the humans. If I start from a very simple kind of a thing, that robot had replaced the humans from multiple jobs that way. Let's say starting from innovative farming equipments, they have replaced the humans. Or I'll say the horses during the Industrial Revolution. Even today, as Ravindra sir was talking about, that in application like painting application, if you see, you require a very even kind of a painting application, or even kind of a pen to be tested on the vehicle, or basically a floor or a metal. Here you require some kind of a skill laborers or skilled people. If this skilled people you are not able to find naturally, you require somebody or some kind of automation where that person or that machine would really help you. So that is what we call it as a replacement. So yes, if I say practically, there would be a replacement at multiple places. If I say a replacement, let me start with from the home automation. As Nikam sir was also telling him, for example, one machine talking to another. Now, if one machine a component of, if I want to pick the component of one machine and place it to another, I require a one person, I again require a skilled person. I need to think about 24/7, would he really work for that particular machine? It's become very difficult. Then you need to replace those people. So it is again replacing from one machine to another machine with some kind of a mechanism, some kind of automation, or some kind of a robotics. Okay. If I talk about coming towards when I talk about a machine, it is a home, like cleaning. Nowadays, if you see, a lot of cleaning robots are coming. So you require a maid, or you require somebody who would be regularly cleaning your offices, cleaning your machines, or something like cleaning your homes. You require a device which can do that. Or else you require a person. If I say a device who can work 24/7, then I require automation, then I am replacing this one. So one of the answer for this is yes, jobs are getting replaced. But humans are not getting replaced, because when I say humans are not getting replaced, because the skill humans have is induced into those kind of a robotics. So if you give that kind of a talent to that particular machine, the answer is yes. But till the time, who would do that? It would be the human. But at the same time, you require this kind of a skilled people to give those kind of a talent to those particular robots or a machine or automation. As sir said, गरज ही काय शोधेची जननी आहे. तर तशी आहे, म्हणजे जर जिथं गरज आहे तिथं you require automation. And then you find out how we can replace these people. For example, post-COVID, it is now a challenging in we industries or getting a skilled manpower. It is becoming a very, very difficult job. Then that manpower staying for a year, I'm talking about not more, like 3 years or 4 years, it is biggest a challenge. So either I have to fine tune my business plans for that particular person, how I can develop it, how can make my business plan so that, or how I can make my HR strong so that those people survive or sustain here. So in that case, if I'm saying, if I'm thinking that much in that particular area, can I think about a machine which can? For example, nowadays, if you see Google coming up with the unmanned vehicles, getting a good drivers is becoming a challenge. So what you are thinking, how to replace it? Or else if I talk about in medical applications, for example, doctors, if you see here, I have read one article going ahead in next 5 or 6 years, you will have all the hospitalizations, advocacy, or even the financial, mentorship through online, through your phones or a single click. So it is where the jobs are trying to replace, but I'll say humans are not replaced, because the brain or intellectual, you are putting into those people and you are creating more jobs. For example, as I'm thinking, for example, the Firozia, I'm just purposefully talking about the panelists because we are into the same category. Like Sir Ravi sir is working on machinery domain, or Mr. Nikam sir on automation or industry 4.0 where Firozia is working, or other panelists, Mr. Vinay in terms of robotics, or Mr. Narula, I'm saying their profile in terms of competition or CFD kind of a stuff. Now, if you see here, all this is replaced, or they are trying to create more jobs for the humans by inducing the brain power of the human into the machinery. For example, how I can atomize my complete system. Now, to atomize this, you require people, you require IoT, you require AI kind of a thing. Now, if you see here, you require all streams, like, for example, mechatronics, you think about a mechanical, you think about a computer. So all these streams or all this engineering knowledge is coming, and this experts are putting on their machine where they can do a business. So at the same time, if I say here, the people has to increase their skills. If the skills are increased, you'll get a more number of jobs. At the same time, the work which is very really tough, which is hard, or which require a lot of energy, you need to change that. And that change is bound to happen. And the time has come, as talked by earlier panelists, that the things would be going to be replaced. But at the same time, when my answer is no, when I say no, the skill in terms of the knowledge, the skill in terms of, for example, the syllabus which you design, how you design the syllabus. For example, if I go in the engineering, specifically engineering syllabus, the syllabus is something where they will help you to develop your thinking knowledge. We never become, though I'm a mechanical engineer, I was never specialist into the engine or never specialized into the automobile or hydraulic system. But what our syllabus is fine-tuned in such a way that it focuses or fine-tunes your brain to think ideology, think about how we can actually develop multiple things or multiple technologies. So that's where I'll say the jobs are replaced, but the skills is not replaced. You require to have innovative skills. And nowadays, if you see, everything is a mechatronics. Even those students who are hearing or on this particular session, I will request you, you tell me one particular system in your house which is not mechatronics or which doesn't have automation. For example, you start with your building, the lift is atomized. It is automation. When you open the door, the welcome bell rings. It is also automatic, though it is an electronics part, but it is atomized, where nowadays you are able to see the face recognition, image recognition. If you see, this is where Industry 4.0 talks. It understands the job, it understands the machine, and it gives the signal, this particular person or this particular job has arrived. That is where Industry 4.0 or revolution is coming. Now, what has happened? The person who is inside, he is understanding from outside or from the kitchen only, oh, who's the person has been arrived, or if it is on the machine system, what kind of the job has been done, or the inspection part of it. Now, if I do here, there is some part which has been replaced, but if you see here, the brain or the skill has been induced, and you require more people to do this. So I'll say this is where the humans has been replaced, but the brains or the skills can't replace that. You need to upgrade that. You need to sharpen that. Okay, that is something where we'll be looking on, or the industry or the the program of engineering, where would be designed or fine-tuned to develop the skills. Okay, I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, our next panelist is Mr. Vinay Kunwar, sir, who is director at India First Robotics Innovation and Research, LLP, Pune. Sir had around 29 years of the experience in the field of the robotics and automation. He had received. Am I audible, na?
Yes.
Yes, now you are audible.
Yes. Sir had received the Maharashtra IT Award by the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, late Shri Vilasrauji Deshmukh, sir. He had also received the appreciation letter from Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, Shri Narendra Ji Modi, as well as he received the appreciation letter from Honorable Education Minister of Gujarat, Shri Ramanlal Ora, in the year 2011. And I would like to add one more important thing about his career. He had built India's first ever robot museum, which cost around 125 CR at Ahmedabad, which was inaugurated by our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Ji Modi. Sir, I would like to ask you or give your views on what are the various types of the industries that are to be expected to offer the maximum uses of the robots. Means which industries can offer the maximum uses of the robot in the near future. Over to you, sir. Vinay, sir.
Thank you for the introduction, Gaikwad, sir. And I thank Dr. Nandurkar and Dr. Pawar for inviting me as one of the panelists. The question that you have asked is really, it covers everything actually, Vaibhav, sir. The robots are going to be used in every industry, virtually every sector that we can think of. What we have seen that when the revolution started, the robotics revolution started recently, there was a lot of opposition from people, or there were a lot of myths going on around. There were a lot of thought process going on around, just like the questions that you asked to Mr. Vinod, whether robots are going to be replaced by robots are going to be replacing humans or not. So this question is still going on, and this will continue. Like we remember in early 90s, when computers were introduced in India, everyone was thinking that, oh, the computer is going to replace humans and humans are going to be left without any job. So people were not in favor of using robots, in favor of using computers. But eventually what we have seen is computers have created more jobs and more skills are required and more people are coming in. And, India is now one of the, at the pinnacle of the IT revolution. Now, this, again, I would say that this is the automation revolution which is happening currently, or the robotics revolution which is happening currently. And robots are virtually going to touch everyone and in every industry. You name the industry and robots are going to be there. Of course, the maximum usage of robots is going to happen in manufacturing. Slowly it is started penetrating agriculture also. Warehousing and food processing is one, where the robots are going to be used very extensively. And what we are seeing is, the new terms which are emerging now, that is, the soft robotics, where robots are going to be developed as per the human kinematics, and they are going to be used for helping humans in terms of either weightlifting or running or doing certain physically challenged jobs, and also to be used for physically challenged persons, where these exoskeletons are going to be very useful. Currently they are very costly, but yes, research is going on and there are a lot of people who are working on it. In fact, we have a team of 2-3 students in our company who have come recently to research on soft robotics, and we are helping them out with that. So, there are thought processes going on around all across that, how the automation or how the robotics can be inculcated in our daily life. Now, when we say that we are talking about industry, we're talking about agriculture, there is one major sector, that is defense sector, which also needs to be looked at. And we are currently working with some defense organizations where there is a lot of work on robotics which is being planned and which is being researched. They have a lot of requirement for for people coming and doing research on the army problems and giving them solutions. And in fact, they are giving funding also. So it is a very good news for students as well as professors that who could come forward and can participate in this research and development revolution which our Indian Army has started. And the courses that you have started, the program, the BTech courses in robotics and automation, and the BTech courses in data science and artificial intelligence, these programs are very, very useful for the students. Because I remember the days, when we got the contract for Robot Museum in 2017, Diwali, November was the period when we got the contract. And that is when we started looking out for people or for engineers who could be employed for working on these various robots that we would be developing for the Robot Museum. And very sadly, at that time, there was no engineer that we could recruit in terms of knowledge in robotics. So what we decided is we will recruit good engineers, electronics as well as mechanical engineers and computer science engineers, and we'll get them trained from people from US so that they will be able to deliver. So now what we see is from 2017 to 2021, I would say 4 years. Mathematically it is 5 years, but then actually it is 4 years that we see that the whole process is transformed. We have now roboticists in India. We have people who have got very good expertise in artificial intelligence, very good expertise in robotics, as well as in automation, designing of automation and image processing. And now the field has really started growing. The industry today is also looking forward for this kind of an automation. So my take on this subject, or on this question that you have asked, would be that the most usage of robots are going to happen in all the industries or in all the sectors. The most ones would be manufacturing, logistics, I would say agriculture, and the defense sector. So I am sure the students also who would be enrolling for the robotics and automation courses with you would also look at this kind of opportunities and this kind of sectors, and they would also get make certain projects, from their first year onwards. They could start making projects so that they could prepare themselves for the industry down the line after 4 years. I hope I have answered that question, Vaibhav sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable
My pleasure,
guidance.
sir.
Now, our next panelist is Mr. Surinder Singh Narula, who is Managing Director at Axiomatic iTech Private Limited, Ahmedabad. Sir is having the vast experience in the field of simulation, that is CFD, then CAD/CAM, 2D and 3D drawings, as well as he had experience in the CNC cutting, then plasma cutting, then laser machining and aux flame machining. Now, I request you, sir, you kindly discuss what are the role of robot in the service industry. The role of robot in the service industry. Over to you, sir, Surinder Singh.
Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon to you all. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about this subject. What I have seen is that the application of robots in the service industry, the scope is tremendous. And what Vinay sir recently pointed out, that when computers came in, people were skeptical that computers will take away the jobs, but they have created more jobs than we expected. In a similar way, the the time for robotics has now started, and for the next 20-30 years, we are going to see a boom or an explosion in this industry that we have not seen before. Robots have been prevalent. We as kids used to hear, cars being manufactured using robots, and it used to be surprising. And planes flying automatically. A plane on autopilot is nothing but a robot. It is taking its decisions and correcting course automatically. And majority of the journey is being taken care of by autopilot rather than by the physical pilot or pilot's intervention. Now, when we talk about the service industry, the various applications are domestic applications, mobile. Then I came across a term called cobot, that is collaborative robots, humanoids, industrial application, military application. When we talk about replacing, Vinod sir was talking about replacement of humans. We are going to replace certain jobs in the robotic industry, but what is going to happen is that additional skills are going to be required. The labor forces or the people who are doing the laborious jobs, whose jobs are going to be replaced by the robots, they will have to upgrade their skills in order to do something. Maybe they have to learn to operate robots. So basically, and what our other panelist Ravi sir mentioned, that we are in the version 2.0 to 3.0, and we needed that nudge. So because they were very expensive, industry was not going towards automation. But COVID has really changed that situation. And now instead of looking at cheap labor, people are more keen to go in for automation and robots, because now their survival has come at stake. And they cannot afford to depend on the manpower, or whether they come or whether they don't come. So the basic thing is that one thing is robots are going to do is it is going to remove cheap and inefficient labor. So wherever labor is cheap and the inefficiencies are there, people will prefer to spend more and replace those inefficiencies. The other thing is when the hazardous environments are there, whether it is military applications or whether it is oil and gas or whether it is nuclear applications, this is going to happen. And it is already happening. Abroad it is happening. And now I think it is the time in India where these things are now moving at a much faster pace. A simple application, sweeping and mopping, I never thought about using it. But when COVID came in and the domestic help was not available, I went ahead and purchased a sweeping and a mopping robot. So just to eliminate that daily task or monotonous task of mopping the floor. Now, I read on the news every day there is something or the other about robots. Skyscraper cleaning robots are there. The efficiency is 10 times more than the human robots. They are able to cover 120 square meters in 1 hour, maybe 6 to 10 times more efficient than humans. Then they are not affected by the cold or the hot environment. The height is not a problem. Earlier, we have seen people, in a carriage and 2 people are standing and they are cleaning the windows outside. Now, instead of those 2 people, there are 2 robots. So people are not, the risk to life is removed, the inefficiency or the person not being available, health issues, food, insurance, all those things are eliminated completely. And they will work 24/7 if required. So the productivity increases. The productivity the robots are increasing is around 20 to 30%. So if your efficiency increases 20 to 30%, who will not be interested in doing it? Factory automation is already there. Nuclear applications are hazardous applications. You cannot send a human in a particular area, and you can send robots over there, do those certain jobs, pick and place certain objects, and come out. These are extremely helpful. Then we talk about hazardous environment or inaccessible areas. Oil and gas industry, they have to, or the chemical industry, they have to inspect the entire piping for, the weakening of the, they have to scan those pipes to check the strength of the welding joints, whether they are going to burst or whether they are in proper condition or whether the rusting is there, or in general maintenance of the plants. These plants are huge, and doing those things manually is much more difficult. You can have a drone with particular gadgets fitted on it to scan the thickness of the pipes and stuff at various places. So the skill of the laborer who was actually climbing up and down and checking it with a physical instrument will now be, how he can use a drone or a robot to, do those activities. Recently, I saw something about a drone having a flying range of 55 kilometers just to survey a pipeline, an oil or a gas pipeline. In India, the temperature is okay, but you talk about Alaska, the temperatures are below freezing, minus 20, minus 30 degrees. If you want to detect some problem has occurred and you want to detect, you cannot do it manually all the time. There are policemen, patrolling robots. Robots are patrolling and providing information to the base. Firefighting robots. People are developing firefighting robots. When you can't send a human into a fire, you can send a robot. And the robot will be able to identify people, whether they are alive, give a location signal so that the rescue people can come to that particular location and help the person who is in need of help. Defense is, again, it's a high risk, and life is very important. The cost of training that goes into training the Army, Air Force, and the Navy personnel is huge. It runs in crores. Now, losing one person means it's such a huge loss. But if you can use robots to do the surveillance, go into areas where earlier we were sending human beings, definitely it's a huge advantage. I recently attended the Aero India show in February. It was in Bangalore, and there were so many companies in India with drones and all. Drones with an AK-47 fitted underneath it so that it can rise, survey, and shoot the enemy if required, right? And I have also heard about Israel using face recognition and robotic technology to kill terrorist targets. You name it, and there is an application for it. The autonomous vehicles are there. You have drones for delivery. People are talking now. Swiggy and Zomato are facing manpower problems. It won't be long before we will be having some drones visiting, delivering food at our homes. The courier companies in the US are already using drones for delivering packets and parcels to the customers. Swarm drones being used to, I saw a TED talk somewhere wherein a small swarm drone can identify the face, identify the target, and go and hit on its forehead and explode, killing that target right on spot. And that is swarm drone. Now, military is using it extensively. You can use it for disarming mines, landmines, or for unmanned ground vehicles, unmanned ships, submarines, deployable and reusable surveillance drones. US has now developed a technology where they are going to use drones for surveillance from a distance so that their main aircraft doesn't come under fire. It can survey the area and come back, and the drones are again collected back into the main aircraft. And they have considered a life cycle of just 20 flights for such drones. Now, developing a drone for 20 flights vis-a-vis developing an aircraft for a life of 20 years, the costs are huge for developing the aircraft. They are going in for drones. So I think that the applications for the robotics it's going to explode, and they are unlimited. You name it and it is there. All you need to do is find the area of your interest and focus on that. And I think we all are going to see a huge impact of robots and automation in our lives in India and across the globe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable guidance. Now, once again, I am moving to our panelist, Mr. Ravi Mahadevkar, sir. Sir, can you please give us your views? What will be the role of collaborative robot in the human life?
Now, I remember about 15, 20 years back when we started really integrating the robots, or the automation demands the robots and all. People were very much reluctant to really deploy the robotic applications. And they used to say, hey, how much it is going to cost? Obviously, the cost and the related peripheral activities, the cost of robot is not very high. Actually, if you really look into that, the cost of robots or robotic application is not very high. But the peripheral things which are required to be maintained with the conventional robots is very high. Okay. Typically, if you really look into that, the safety features, okay, the safety feature integration approach for the equipment, what you are going to deploy the robots application. Okay. Then the standardization of for the processes which are required to be standardized and all such kind of things demanded a very what you call the concise kind of approach while designing the robotic applications and all. And obviously that started increasing the cost of robots and all. As the number of robots started coming into the industries in a very big way, the people started really looking at relaxing these terms and conditions, or a standardized systems approach. What I would be saying, the system engineering approach helped them in identifying, hey, I can use this robot the way I want to have it. And that's where the robotic growth or the robot integration approach have switched towards the humankind or the manpower friendly, human friendly. I'm very blunt to say here that in the initial stage, the behavior of robots toward the human or human being was not very friendly. And now what we have been talking about is the cobot or the friendly robots, which we have been talking about it, are really useful for all of us into the industries actually. Typically for the higher level of automation where it is required, the cost components and the capabilities of the human are not able to achieve, then that's where we can deploy those human-centric robots, especially. The eased workload for the employees, this is another, because everybody, my fellow panelists have already communicated and indicated that we are going to be the use this where the eased workload for the employees, and that's very important perspective. Consistently high quality is another demand and the requirements, and the maximum flexibility. Typically, when we talk about the automation migration strategy and deployment of robots into the industrial applications and all, that's where we have to really look upon the importance of robot application. And nowadays, as a result of this, the ease of working with the robot have given an advantageous situation for all of us. Now, my few of my colleagues in this panel have already indicated to you that that is going to reduce your dependency on the human being as well as on the robotics and vice versa. But it is not going to happen like that. The way we are going ahead, what I perceive from all these things, the demand for the appropriate type of a specialist is going to get increased, and especially for what we call that the robotic service in the industry, or the robotic importance of into our human life is going to increase day by day. Very recently, I have been to the hospital where I saw the robotic surgeries being carried out into the hospitals and all. Now, does that mean that doctor is going to get rid? Does that mean that doctor is not needed into that? Friends, here I would like to make a very bold statement, an important statement, that robots are going to be the integral part of our lives. The way we have been talking about the industrial application is going to be the invariably everywhere. It could be Mr. Narula was just mentioning about the application, or even my friend Vinod. Vinod also did mention about it, the same thing, that we have to, we cannot be neglecting. We cannot be neglecting. At the same time, the role of humanoids or the robotic application is going to be the very important for all of us. Just before I hand over back to Mr. Kamble, I would like to just mention over here, whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, you are going to be the part of this revolution of robotics and all. And then the choice is yours, whether you want to face the consequences of these robotic applications or not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I will move towards our next panelist, Mr. Nilesh Nikam, sir. Sir, can you give your views on what will be the job opportunities for the students who will be getting graduated from this robotics and automation department? Nikam, sir.
Yes. Okay, so students are more interested in this question, might be like what could be the exact role and job opportunities, or what type of designations can be handled after this having this degree of robotics and automation. So the other panelist also mentioned what is exact applications. So similarly, on the same line, means there is a system engineer who defines complete system architect, and how many robots will be there, what sort of communication will be there, then which sort of payload we need to use. So there is a system engineer who defines the kind of complete architecture and the overall project scenario where the kind of robots and kind of automation level has been captured. And he is nothing but the project management type of thing, who is also responsible for complete handling the project and as well as the complete architecture and the complete system and the complete full and final commissioning of the system also. So that is the one kind of a job. Then the robot simulation. The robot simulation is a kind of what we can say the offline activity where we are in the virtual world. We are checking the robot reachability, robot access, then selection of the tool, then robot is not means singly robot is always working. Robot is having its pedestal, then the fencing, the safety equipments, then robot is also having its tools, then the end of the equipments. So at what distances it should be there? If 2 robots are there, 3 robots are there, then how that robots will be working? What should be the distance between the 2 robots? And if they are working parallelly with each other, then they should not get foul with each other. So whatever that activity is there, that has been done by the simulation engineer. So robot simulation is one phase. Then the process simulation, where apart from the robot simulation, he is responsible for the complete process, how that process will flow. In a car industry, car manufacturing company, they are having the BIW shop, where small components or small panels are being spot welded, MIG welded, and then the complete BIW, body in white, is getting manufactured. So this particular BIW shop is having most number of the spot welding robots. And believe me, for making us, let us say, one complete BIW, we need to use almost 30 to 40 numbers of series of robots. So station 1 will have, let us say, 4 robots, station 2 will have 2, then again some manual operation, and like that 40-50 number of robots we need to use for making one complete BIW. And it depends, means what kind of level of automation is there. If it is a partial automation, then number of robots will be less. If it is a high level of automation, then number of robots will be also more. And it is not only a spot welding operation, even the part feeding from one station to other station also done by the robots also. So that process complete simulation. Then line simulation. Line simulation means in the virtual world or in the simulation software, basically Delmia and process simulation is made by the Siemens, then RobCAD, RoboGuide. These are the different kind of simulation softwares has been used for robot simulation. And for line simulation, we are referring, means I also work for that one, the process simulation by the Siemens and the Delmia, in which the complete line can be simulated, means in virtual world. Part has been entered into the first station, then it has been joined with the 2 other components, then robot is performing some operation, clamping, declamping, and it is again transferred to the next process. So this complete cycle of operations can be validated there with cycle time, given cycle time, takt time, and as well as the safety of robot and plus human. So whatever the robot movements are there, the clouds has been made, and what are the safety fences and other things are there, that has been validated. So this robot simulation is a kind of a big job opportunity in the current scenario. And Tata Technology, you might be knowing, then Wipro currently started for building this robot simulation. Then Fine Arc Robotics is there, then Patil Automation. Even our panelist member is also from the same field, so they might be having the same kind of robot simulation practices. So Magna is there. So there are Ushin, Kumau, so many companies are there who has been using these things. Means the system architecture, system engineer, then the robot simulation. Then again in robot simulation, there is a virtual commissioning. Means recently that has been developed and people are more working onto it. So normally what is happening, the fixtures are taking a little bit more time for manufacturing the things. Okay, so, and the PLC panel is one of the key architect member into that robot system. So it has been immediately built up, unless until that bought out items lead time. But that can be now a robot simulation software, and this PLC can be communicated with each other, and we can make this ladder diagram or PLC logic into the robot simulation software itself. So for the virtual commissioning, means I'm specifically talking. So now it has been now started rigorously to reduce the automation checking time when this actual shop floor has been built up with the actual robots and actual components, actual fixtures. So before doing this, we are checking all this kind of operation. Even the safety is also getting checked in the virtual commissioning. Then PLC engineering means it is a same kind of traditional or conventional one, but with the higher configuration systems. Then robot maintenance in which there are two type of thing, means mechanical kind of thing and electrical. If electrical is there, then it should means he should have the knowledge of robot control system. Means he will be the responsible for the robot controller maintenance. Most of the time, these controllers will having the standard parts, but on the regular basis, we need to check these parts, battery cells. So kind of a TPM and PM kind of a work. And most of the maintenance people are doing this robot maintenance. But in coming days, this also be a part of a kind of a intelligent way. This robot itself will communicate, or we can set that trigger that some problems is there in the controller system, so that can be replaced or that can be maintained. Then as far as the mechanical part is concerned, then their internal system or the MCs are there. So what are the KUKA robots, Fanuc robots, Motome and Ishikawa, different robots manufacturers are there. They are having their system engineers who are doing this robot maintenance for the OEMs. So they are having the AMC. So they are also having the good job opportunities for maintaining the robots as a MC part of a company. Then one more topic is there, like plant simulation. Plant simulation is more over the, we are talking the whole idea of the plant, and the complete plant is run on the virtual simulation mode. And we are checking what we can say, the product mix. Let us say a Mahindra manufacturing company is there and it is having 4 to 5 different number of variants running on the same line. But right from the entry of part to the exit, how that process will happen. So the complete theme has been run on the plant simulation, and number of activities, number of stations, then number of what we can say operations and the operator movements. That each and every minute details has been captured and analyzed in the plant simulation. So in that also means robot simulation, all means it has been get captured, and it is very useful for running the plant in virtual mode without running actual. So let us say if you are created some scenario where that 5 cars has been now manufactured on the particular line, and you have some seasonal variations, and you have entered into the system, like say in Diwali there is more peak period for this particular car, and in summer there is more peak period or down period for this particular car. So virtually you can find out what should be the sequence of your part should go on the line and how it should run. So you can run the plant for maybe 1 month also, or 1 year also, but in virtual condition, and you can test that where is bottleneck is happening, or where I need to supposed to give some buffer stations, or I need to add some more inputs or more stations to eliminate my bottlenecks. So that complete engineering or that kind of a task has been done by the simulation engineer. Then one more job opportunity, like a process experts. Process experts are not means like means from engineering you have been taught now robotics and automation, and now you are becoming like a process expert. So normally when you entered into the field of manufacturing or any field, as you are working there, so you are more eager to work on different task projects, and you will find out that okay, this application, it doesn't have any kind of automation, but it should have some kind of automation or robotics kind of thing. So you can work into that, and you can do the research and make newer kind of automation thing and that you can be as a process expert. And there are some established old conventional methods also, or process also, like welding. In welding also means the welder expert is nothing but a process expert. But in the current scenario, if we add a robot torch to the robot, then it will be a robot weld expert. So that is a kind of a thing, but it will come as an experience only. And that is also the good thing, and it is having also the good packages and the good amount of requirements as a process experts. So not only means welding is one of the application, then glass blowing is the application, spot welding, then metal handling, and in some cases robot safety management. So the process experts will be responsible for doing all this activity. Then there are some few experts who are working in the test labs. Let us say I am having a car seat, okay, and I need to test that seat for 1 lakh cycles. So a man cannot be do that means he's sitting on that one, and again he is up and down. We cannot check that one seat. So what we can do, we can add one tool on the robot side, which will be a same kind of a seat like our human, and with some calculated pressure and force, we will apply the force, and some frequencies has been set, and it will apply that 1 lakh cycles, and after that the testing results can be gathered, and the analysis can be done. So that is also the kind of process experts only who are responsible for means getting robot used into the testing lab and analyzing it, means whatever the results are coming, that need to be analyzed, and then that information need to give to our product engineer or who else means, will be there responsible for the product or the testing facility. So that also the application area is there. Then a few companies has been now started the automation school inside the factory itself, because the level of automation has been increased. So many of the people from the conventional background, engineering background, they are coming, like mechanical engineering, production engineering, mechatronics, electronics. So, but they need to use those people for the current scenario. Okay, now just means KKWAG, like KKWAG is started robotics automation, but still the people from first year to fourth year, they will take some time. So in that case also some automation schools has been run by some OEMs inside their factory. So for them also some guidance and the tuition makers are required, or the experts are required to taught their people. So that is also the one of the opportunity. So then one more point is there, like it's not a kind of a robot thing, but metal management system or the SAP system, but it is a kind of a industry 4.0, where there are more emerging jobs are there, where the people are knowing about the industry 4.0 requirements, and they want to use means machine communication to machine communication. But again, the material management, how material management flow will be there. So that is also means because currently we are working some few of the machines we are connecting in the same way. So company has been finding the process experts and the persons who are dealing with such kind of things. So there are basically different kind of opportunities are there. But as you enter into the field, you will understand, okay, this can also be the part of the job means. But it's always be good, like as in previous means the conventional way, the mechanical engineer is to come as a mechanical engineer, but finally he will be a designer, or he will be a production person, or he will be a logistic person. Means the scenario can be different as per the departments or quality engineer. But similarly, if you come as a robotics and automation engineer, then whatever I explained, that those fields are already open, means as a directly grey market or green market field opportunities. But also based on your experiences and how your IQ is there or grasping is there, how you are understanding the philosophy of real robotics and automation, you can create your own pathway into this. So students, it's very interesting field, and maybe whatever we are now discussing in the future, more and above there will be things will be there. But as of now, currently, whatever the points has been now mentioned by me, that has been the basic things are there, idea is there. But as on we go into the next coming year, maybe the requirements further go and move, it will be different way. And robotics can be just like our mobile phone. This, as each and every person is having your Android separate mobiles. So similarly, the robot will be a part of our life also in the coming years. So again, the scenario and the job opportunity for the robotics, it will be a more and more only, and it will never be reducing. I hope the question has been answered. And yes, thanks for the question.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable guidance. Now I am moving towards our next panelist, Mr. Vinod Adpadkar, sir. Sir, as you are working in the field of robotics and automation, can you enlist the skills which are required for the engineers to work in this particular field? The skills required to work in the robotics and automation field.
See, whatever our earlier panelists talked about the areas, all these areas you require, or all these skill sets should be required. Now, good part with the robotics engineers are, they can't say like a mechanical job or like a mechanical engineer, oh, this is a mechanical work. Or they can't say like an electrical, oh, this comes from something on electrical or instrumentation. When it comes to a robotics, he should have a good knowledge of robotics, electronics, electrical, even electronics. I'll say if the one of the core is, he has to be into with one core, and other things should be add on, which he should understand what, or understand or gather that communication language, so that it is easy to understand what customer says, what his colleague says, what research is going on. Otherwise, robotics engineer is something which has a lot of ingredients built around him, because he need to understand the mechanical stuff, he need to understand communication stuff, he need to understand the languaging stuff also. So it's like the first skill he should have is like system thinking, that what a particular system works, what things is required, he should have those things. Okay, like for example, the earlier panelists were talking about system engineer. What does a system engineer means? For example, he's working on one particular system. So you don't know, your systems can be different. So he should have those kind of a logical thinking or system thinking kind of a thing. Similarly, when it comes to a simulation, they talked about a simulation. When it comes to simulation, it is like, I'll say a skill set required is a programming. You should have a programming mindset. Without programming, robotics is nothing. And mind my words, your first year basic is very, very important. And you are into that kind of a demand stream that every company would like to have, as Madhav sir told, that you would be living with the robotics further going ahead. So that means with everywhere, whenever you go to the industry, that industry would require to have one robotic engineer. And if that company is looking for a robotic engineer, he should have that kind of a skills, like at least he should have good programming knowledge, because a robot can do multiple functions. So if he has that kind of a programming knowledge, he can develop different kinds of the programs and work on a system, or able to work hand in hand with different applications on a single system. Okay, so if I talk about a programming, for example, the open source program like ROS, robotic operating system, nowadays it is into good demand. You talk about Scilab, MATLAB is also there. You talk about a Scilab. I'm talking specifically the open programs which students can really get a good knowledge, and it becomes an integral part of the skill system. From the first year you can start. You talk about Robo Analyzer, which is developed by IIT Delhi, very good in terms of simulation. You talk about a multi-body dynamics. So you require those kind of a simulations where you want to understand flexible body, you want to understand the forces coming into the linkage and joints. I'll not take much time. I'll take only 2 minutes. This one just telling you the skill set. Now, some of the people said different. If you heard about the earlier panelist, he was talking about different segments. So that means what the indication or what kind of a pointer he's trying to tell in terms of the skill set is, you should be the active learner. Now you don't know where your robot is going to work. The robot may go about something which is below temperature or which is at a high temperature. So at this things, you need to understand the material parameters. You need to understand the your sensor kind of a parameters. Does the pneumatic or hydraulic best fits into this? So for example, what I want to say in a short, you should be the active learner. And to be very frank, I always feel since I am into robotics, the robotics engineers are more agile, or those who are into machinery, they are like more agile. They can do any kind of a thing. They are more strategic decision maker. They are more in terms of I'll say person doing a more Googling kind of a thing, or more reading kind of a thing. So those kind of the skills you should have it. Now all these things, when you're looking or developing one system, another system, you should be a mathematics. Because for example, you want to design a machinery, you need to calculate torque calculations, you need to calculate load calculations, you need to calculate the temperature conditions. So your mathematics becomes the fundamentals, and over and above, you are an engineer. So mathematics becomes the core of this. So whatever you learn first year, second years, M1, M2, M3, all these things becomes the fundamental. You will really able to understand where we solve integrations and robotics, your derivations and all in this area, because this area actually needs all these things. Now coming towards your part of, for example, as I talk about, if you're a mathematician, the science parts is always integral to it. When I talk about a thermal, the science comes into it. Or else, for example, you do, there are a lot of things like due to the gravity, a lot of, I have seen the automation, because of the gravity, a lot of things becomes a settle or automation becomes easy. So you require a science, you require a judgment and decision making. That is one of the very big skill set, I'll say. The person who is working in robotics and automation would be the best decision maker. And that decision, if you see, these are the prompt decisions. For example, if I say, you think about a pneumatic kind of a thing, you think about this is within a fraction of a second. Now your decision makers also has to be with a good fundamentals, by the way, not just karna hai to karenge. No, that is not a good decision. The decision which has a lot of fundamentals, a lot of critical thinking, a lot of analytical thinking. That is something which is very, very important. Overall above, I'll say communication is the must in a robotics, because you interact with different disciplines of engineer. Like some people talked about medical applications, some people talk about aerospace application. Now, being a single engineer, it is very difficult for me to gather all these knowledges. So you should be a good communicator to understand him, get what he is thinking, grab the things and implement in your technology. For example, I'll say robotics is a new, always new. You meet every customer, like you see all the panelists here, all these are from different domains. None of the things is making a new thing. Even on machinery side, if you see, there would be a challenges. Every person would want some kind of automation into it. So everywhere there is a new challenges. So when there is a new challenge, actually the customer gives you the good results also, or give good feedback or inputs. But then you should have a good communication, logical thinking in terms of writing skills also into this one. And over and above, I'll say you should be more towards focused on complex problem solving. Because, for example, why the customer is asking robotics? He has a pain. And if that pain is not solved, then it is useless. So our area, or a robotics engineer, should be very attentive in terms of solving his problem. Make him happy. Because the robots actually, when you see, whenever the people comes and see the machinery, whenever people comes and see at your place a robot, he is happy. You see you see his facial language, you see his body language. Oh, immediately, "Arey, ye to hona chahiye tha yaar, kahan pe gaye, kahan kaisa machine and all." So what is that? You are solving the problem. You are creating a happiness on the faces of the people, and you are actually moving the world, and it is now your area. With doing this one, you should be very persistent. Because a solution you will not get in within 1 minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You should be having some, as I said, your logical thinking, everything comes into that, but you should be focused. Just for example, if you see all the scientists, they failed multiple times and then they got only one success. So that is what persistence is there in a robotics. You should be having that kind of a thinking, that kind of a patience, that you really think about all these things, problems, and solve or actively apply in this area. If you have all these skills, I'm quite sure you will be a very good engineer, a robotics engineer. I'm quite sure the curriculum which is designed, because I went through that curriculum also. If you see, this is also making you to think. Like if you you have a robotics, you have a AI into it, you have basically IoT into that. All these are different but interrelated. You should be having a logical thinking and the skill set that is. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Now I will move to our next panelist, Mr. Vinay Kunwar, sir. Sir, can you tell us what are the areas of research in the field of robotics and automation?
Vinay, sure, sir. That's a very good question, sir. And I would say that like robotics is just being introduced in India. Though there are companies which have been using robotics for a long time, but the real revolution in robotics has started just about 1 or 2 years back. And we are a country of a lot of problems. We are a poor country. We are an emerging economy, and we have a lot of problems. So as Ravindra sir said, that need is the mother of invention. So there are a lot of needs in India, and we all need to look within ourselves. Today we are using the technology which is coming from the western part of the world, but we ourselves are very much capable of doing or making these automations or making these products ourselves. There lies a huge area, huge opportunity for research in India, and we need to find out where are those opportunities. The first opportunity and the very huge opportunity that I would say is agriculture. That is one sector which has been neglected by everyone. And because yes, I mean, manufacturing and engineering, they are related to technology, they are related to a lot of automation, and they have a lot of inputs coming in from the Western world. But thinking of agriculture, nothing has been done on agriculture, and our economy is based on agriculture as well as manufacturing. But then agriculture is always given a step motherly treatment. So there are companies which are coming up, and which are working in agriculture. Our students also, during their studenthood, they should start looking into agriculture, because as I see that a lot of engineers in our area, in the Nashik region, they come from the farming background. So they have the basic knowledge and they know the basic problems of a farmer. Now here, this is a very tricky situation where how the technology should be applied vis-a-vis the commercials or the financials, because financially our farmer may not be able to buy the products or maybe apply the technology in their farming or in their agriculture. But then there comes the innovative and creative thinking as well, which a robotics engineer or roboticist must have. So through creative and innovative thinking, our students must come out with solutions and inventions or products which would be more useful for our agriculture sector. KK is also an institute which is which is in a particular region where farming and agriculture is very much required and very much driving the economy. At the same time, the background of everyone is from agriculture. So here this is a great opportunity for KK students to enter into agriculture, farming, agriculture research area. Now, what are the areas that they can look into agriculture? The areas could be, in terms of artificial intelligence. So there can be research carried out on artificial intelligence as well as image processing, because image processing is going to be the requirement for agriculture, a huge requirement for agriculture. And, that is where our students can target upon. There is also a huge requirement for customized automation. Nasik has a very good industrial area. There are a lot of industrialists in Nasik who would definitely support this initiative. And the solutions which are currently available, they need to be customized. Now, when I say customized automation, what I mean is, we could also look at making robotic arms which are customized, which can be designed and developed at a low cost, and which could also do certain applications. Maybe one application, it could have only 4 degrees of freedom, but it could do that application at a low cost and could do that repetitive application. One of the industrialists whom I met in Vasai, he had only a stamping operation, and he wanted about 100 such robots. But he said, Vinay, if you can give me this robot at less than 1 lakh rupee, I would be really interested in that. And imagine, he's giving an order for 1 lakh rupee. Of course, due to some constraints, we couldn't go ahead on that. But then this is the requirement of the industry. The industry today is currently they are facing a lot of stress in terms of financial viability. So this one area which could be taken up for research in terms of providing the industry with a customized automation solution at a very low cost. Another research area that I feel is currently now being looked at a very large scale, but not in India as yet, that is Internet of Things. IoT is going to be the next boom in the market, where IoT can be used in manufacturing, IoT can be used in automation, IoT can be used in home automation, and at a lot of places, transportation, logistics, wherever you think IoT can be used, because people want data. If you give the data to them, they have all the power of the world in their hands, because then the data can be manipulated and analyzed, and you could arrive with a lot of calculations with the data that you have at your hand. So these are some areas where research can happen, that is customized automation, artificial intelligence, image processing, and IoT. Recently, I would like to share with everyone over here that we've got an order for establishing a robotic arm at a petrol pump for automatic robotic refueling. So imagine, what the companies are thinking, what level of automation is required. This is going to touch everyone, who's filling petrol or diesel in their 2-wheeler or 4-wheeler or truck or car, whatever. So, virtually, I feel that everywhere the automation is required, and the research is required. And we being a country where we are facing a lot of problems in terms of logistics, in terms of transportation, in terms of manufacturing, production, whatever. So our students can do research and look within and look out for problems within the country, within our industries, within our society, and do research for the best products. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now I will move towards our next panelist, Mr. Surinder Singh, sir. Sir, as you are traveling abroad continuously, can you focus a light on the applications which you think needs to be explored in the India?
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. The first time I traveled abroad, and what I was zapped to see was driverless trains for moving from one airport terminal to the other. No driver at all. And that was one of the things that really, intrigued me. And I was like, we are so far behind in comparison to the other countries. What I see is that if you look at in terms of application, now robotics is a budding, is in a stage where it will now start to boom. And there are many applications that are there in robotics. I was exploring curriculums of various colleges in US, Canada, and so on. And the kind of research that is going on, is really mind-blowing. Now, what I can tell the students here is that it is very important for us to find our niche. I'll give you an example. What is the importance of finding your niche? And then within that niche, what is your micro niche? Say, for example, you say that I want to fix punctures in the car or a bicycle. That kind of a job does not have any value. We pay 50 rupees, 100 rupees for a puncture, and that's done. It's a necessity. Somebody has to do the job, but it doesn't bring too much money. The second thing is, say I'm an insurance agent and I want to sell policies. What am I giving to the customer that the other person is not giving or not able to give? Every insurance agent can give you the policy that I can give you. So basically, even if I may have 25-30% margin, because of internal competition, I have to go and reduce my margin and sell at 2-3% and then wait that every year I will get 5% out commission out of the policy. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are for everybody, you are for nobody. Say, for example, somebody comes to me, do you do industrial automation? I will say yes. Somebody says you are doing defense related application. I will say yes. If you say you're related drone related application, I will say yes. I keep on saying yes to everybody, but I will not be an expert on everything. And every time I'm doing something, I'm trying to research and I'm trying to implement, I will not be able to make money. The most important and number one area, according to me, is defense. Defense is an evergreen area, no matter whether the economy is down or whether the economy is up. Defense spending is never curtailed. Even during COVID, if you remember 2020 March, that Doklam issue happened, and India was on high alert, and they even started the programs were, which were going slow. They were pushing the programs. The defense organizations were being pushed to complete the programs quickly. Now, defense is an area that is always flush with money. They have requirements which are not normal. Now, where do you make money? You will make money when you will solve a complex problem. Defense is complex. It's not daily routine. It's not pizza delivery. It's not parcel delivery. There you will find hundreds of people who will be into parcel delivery. So you become an operator. Now, if you are providing drones for pizza or parcel delivery, you are going to replace a Swiggy or an Amazon guy, delivery guy. Now, what is the salary of that guy? It is 10,000 rupees. Now, the company will try to keep their monthly cost to within 10,000 when they are buying your drone, including operating costs. So what is going to happen? You are going to be squeezed on margins. But if there is a defense application, say that there is some surveillance, they want some particular kind of information or data coming out of it, you will be able to earn crores out of that same using a same drone or a similar drone with customizing it for that application. So the most important thing is, what is the problem you can solve for the others, and what is the area of your interest? These two things have to combine, and then you have to, say defense. Defense doesn't mean everything. It can be a land vehicle, it can be an amphibious vehicle, it can be underwater vehicle, it can be a drone. What do you want to do? And then you focus on those areas. So students should actually try to, learning how to make a robot or how to make a system in college is fine. But when you're going for a job, before going for a job, you should actually look for the area that is of your interest and then focus in that. Because over a period of time, research will happen. Somebody is focusing on drones that can cover a long area or can fly for a long time. Somebody is focusing on weather-related drones. Somebody is focusing on space applications. So defense, space, agriculture, Vinay sir mentioned. Now, recently I saw an article where they are talking of carrying, I think 7.5 kg or something, some amount of fertilizer in liquid form, which can be sprayed, and the quantity can also be controlled so that the fertilizer is not in excess, and it is taking care of the uniform coverage of the field, which a person is not manually able to do. So the efficiency increases drastically, not only for, you don't need skilled labor, you don't need unskilled labor, you use a drone, program it, and let it fly around and spray the pesticides on your field. So you are also ensuring that you are not putting extra pesticide. You are ensuring that it is not also under delivered, and you have full control of the process. So the other areas, as I said, defense is one of the major things where you don't want to risk the life, and the research, the tremendous research is happening on, and the money is in the defense. Then the hazardous applications like nuclear, oil and gas, offshore platforms are there where you cannot reach every nook and corner of the platform, oil drilling platform, where you need to scan each and every component to check on for wear and tear, or whether it is deteriorating or it can be hazardous. Similarly, mines, you're drilling, you name it, rescue operations, where it is difficult to go. Cold, again, the temperatures are going to affect. It is too hot or it is too cold. How do you do that? So basically, one should first identify the niche, what he is interested in, and within that niche, there should be a micro niche. This is the specific area what I want to work on, and then develop things based only on that area. Because when you keep on focusing on that area over a long period of time and solving a complex problem, you will become an expert, you will become an authority, and you can command the premium for something which other people will not be able to do. So the applications are unlimited, and the scope for the robotics engineers in the coming 20-25 years, just as mobiles have become a part of our life, robots are going to be a part of our life in the coming days. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I thank to all the panelists for such a fruitful discussion on career opportunities in the robotics and automation. Now, I will request participants, if you are having any question, you can ask it directly or you can type it in a chat box. Is there any question from the participants? Is there any question? Okay. Okay. Now I will request Professor A.S. Kamble sir to propose the vote of thanks.
Sir, one student is asking. Chinmay is asking question.
Yes.
Chinmay, yes, Chinmay, you can unmute yourself and you can ask question.
You can ask the question, Chinmay. Please unmute yourself. Chinmay, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Okay, if we can ask, you can call me. So my cell number is there on the screen. You can. Yes, he is asking questions.
Surinder sir.
Yeah.
Yes, Chinmay is asking, should I choose my niche or micro niche from now onwards?
Chinmay, the first thing you should focus on is the niche. It can change. It is not necessary that you have to, fix or remain fixed to that niche. Say, for example, you want to have a rocket. You are interested in automation of a rocket, like what Jeff Bezos did, send a rocket into space without any, person manning the aircraft. It was all four were passengers. There was no pilot. And how to control that system? It can be anything. You can be related to drones. It can be related to submarine underwater exploration. So you can broadly think about an area that, okay, this is the area that I want, and then I want to work in. And then in that, say underwater, then what kind of underwater application you're interested in? Or if it is a drone, what kind of drone? You want to look at agriculture, you want to look at defense, you want to look at surveillance, you want to look at delivery. So then you focus on, then you go to your micro niche. But it will take time for you to reach the micro niche level that, okay, this is what it is. And it can change over time. It is not that what you decide today, after 5 years, it is going to be the same thing. See, what I started as a business, I started in CAD. At that time, CAD was the in thing or the new thing. Then it became common thing. I transferred to, I migrated to FEA, and I tried to this plate cutting CNC solutions. Now, from there also I moved to CFD. Again, I found a niche where the solving of complex computational fluid dynamic problems is they are very complex problems and very difficult to solve. So over a period of time, this has happened over 30 years for me. Now, you start today with one niche does not mean that after 20 years you will be in the same niche. And sorry, what I can also tell you is that in our case, the transition was slow. For this new generation, you will see drastic change in the technology within 5 to 10 years. So what you learn today may be obsolete in 10 years. So you have to identify the area, and then slowly and slowly, as you keep on working, you will be able to reach your micro niche. It is not going to happen overnight, and there is no need to, go mad trying to find what is the micro niche. Just see that what is grossly the area that is of interest, because robots, like it is said, it is available in surgery. You want to have humanoids, the cobots, defense. Choose your area, and then in that area you start working. Over a period of time, you'll be able to identify that thing. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, if I want to contact you, Mr. Singh, sir, then how can I contact you afterwards?
I will share the contact details. You please contact me. My number is here 9096239959. I will share you the contact details.
Okay, thank you.
Is it okay, sir? Singh, sir, is it okay?
Yeah, no problem at all, sir.
Is there any question from the participants? Okay. I will request Professor A.S. Kamble, sir, to propose the vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Vaibhav, sir. On behalf of Department of Robotics and Automation, I, Amol Kamble, thank you all for being present over here. I also thankful to the chairman of KK Wagh Education Society, Honorable Shri Balasaheb Wagh Bahu, who always supports us to conduct these types of programs. I'm also thankful to our beloved principal, Dr. K. Nandurkar, sir, who always guides us to conduct these type of programs. I'm thankful to all the panelists who answered different questions which we have collected from our students related to requirement of the automation, Industry 4.0, job opportunities, and collaborative robots, whether robots are going to replace human. Some of the panelists have answered the question on IoT and research, different research areas in the robotics. One more question which is answered by the panelists is the role of robot in service industry. So likewise, different questions were answered by the panelists. I am very much thankful to Mr. Ravi Mahadevkar, sir, Mr. Nilesh Nikam, sir, Mr. Vinod Atpadkar, sahib, Vinod Kanwar, sahib, Surinder Singh Narula, sahib, for being present over here and guiding us and answering all the questions which are raised by many students. I'm also thankful to the head of the department, Dr. P.J. Pawar, sir, for always being with us for conducting this program. And not last, not but least, organizing committee who worked hard so as to conduct this program in smooth manner. And finally, I'm very much thankful to Professor Vaibhav Gaikwad, sir, for properly coordinating this particular event. Thank you very much, all the panelists and all the participants who are present over here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Vaibhav, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Over to you.
Yes, sir. I will end the meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.